They possess the ultimate power, one even stronger than death.
Take my hand as we stand.
Miraculous! Ladybug and Cat Noir the movie. At long last, after years of being an animation powerhouse on television, the miraculous French heroes Ladybug and Cat Noir are bringing their epic adventures to a feature film. And this isn't just any of their regular crime-fighting moments. This is the one that started it all. The story that promises to present audiences how Marinette and Adrien got their powers. And it may come to a surprise that I know next to nothing about Miraculous.
That got awkward fast.
Yeah, to be honest, I've never watched a single episode of the show. Maybe I've seen it air on TV before, but never once did I actually got the time to actually watch something from the series. I will say that I am aware of it, like how it's one of the most popular animated shows from France, and that it has a devoted fan base. Like, if someone is a fan of the show, then there's a good chance that they love it. However, my lack of experience will make this review all the more interesting. As much as fans may be excited for this, how is this movie going to be for newcomers like me? If I consider starting to get into the Miraculous franchise, would the movie be a good start? After all, this is supposed to be the prequel to the show, so this should theoretically be inviting to both longtime fans and beginners. So now that we're taking the action to Paris, will this movie be as miraculous as the title implies? Or is the movie too big for Ladybug and Cat Noir to handle? Let's find out. Hey everyone, before we get started on this review, I'd like to mention that the movie that I'll be talking about, and to a certain extent this review that you are watching now, would not be possible if it weren't for the actors and the writers who have played a key role in the making of this film. As you are probably aware, or during the time that this review was released, both actors and writers are on strike in order to protect their livelihoods, fighting for a more livable wage and job security from the threats of AI. As a professional actor myself, I stand in solidarity with the strikers and support their fight until they inevitably win. If you'd like to support the strike, then donate to the Entertainment Community Fund at entertainmentcommunity.org. Thank you all for your attention, and now, enjoy the review. The story. The good news for people new to Miraculous is that you don't need any extra context to understand the concepts of the movie. In terms of its unique elements, including the Miraculous and its powers, it delivers a basic explanation to ensure that all the viewers are on track with what's going on. Granted, it would have helped improve the picture and give it that extra sense of originality if they went more into the Miraculous in terms of their origins and the other kinds that could be around to highlight their powers. But, at the very least, this can serve as a Miraculous 101 to fill in on the main components.
Over the centuries, the Miraculous have been granted to the greatest heroes to protect the world from evil.
And yet, even if anyone can understand what's happening in the movie, it's comprehensible to a fault. The biggest drawback of the feature, especially with the story, is that it's mostly generic. How Marinette became Ladybug is the typical superhero origin story where an unlikely outcast receives incredible powers and must learn how to properly use them in order to save the world. Or, in this case, she has to learn how to team up with another miraculous hero, Cat Noir, so that they can be stronger together. Yes, I do acknowledge that the film tries to be different in order to stand out more, like being a musical and have a romance subplot, but they ended up hindering the writing because now the movie has difficulties trying to simultaneously deliver these elements at the same time. I'm not saying that it's impossible to make a romantic superhero musical. It can be done very well in the right hands, but this film handles them separately and divides its focus onto each part while not being careful about the setbacks, instead of finding a proper way for all of them to work together in order to deliver one solid story. It's ironic in a way. As it teaches viewers that working together creates the best results, the film's components have a hard time sharing the same screen, and they can sometimes feel intrusive to one another.
A new wave of panic is spreading near the Louvre Museum. not a star in the sky.
But one thing I know that needs to be discussed when it comes to Miraculous, Ladybug and Cat Noir, and what is one of the core elements of the film, is the romance. The main concept that is meant to differentiate this movie from all the other superhero films. It's a complex love narrative that is a struggle between the protagonists and their secret identities. Marinette is in love with Adrien, but not really with Cat Noir. And Adrien is in love with Ladybug, but not really with Marinette. I can see how this could be something that can make the viewer emotionally invested in the picture, but honestly, this did not do much for me. In order for the love to work, the lovers have to be well crafted individually, and while I will explain this a little later, the movie doesn't do a great job to have the audience invested in either Marinette or Adrien as characters. It's as if you need an already established connection with them from watching the show in order to be more engaged with their love. Otherwise, it won't be as effective if you don't really care about them separately. And worst case scenario, the romance can really slow the movie down to the point of becoming dull. And that is the last thing you want your superhero movie to be.
Don't take it personally, you got a great style. But I believe you could, punch a little faster.
I'll give it that there is effort to make a different type of superhero movie, one that wants to stay true to the fan-favorite series and deliver a prominent romantic tone. Unfortunately, because of its difficulty with handling all of its elements at the same time and not giving each of them the right attention to come out strong, it made me insipidly feel like I've heard this story before, even if I've never watched the show. The animation. If there's one thing that was clear during the making of this, is that if they would have Ladybug and Cat Noir star in a movie, then they have to give the animation a good upgrade. In fact, there was so much money that was invested here that this is said to be one of the most expensive French movies ever made. And while I may find the writing to be underwhelming, I do find the animation to be impressive. There is a part that stays true to the original series, like sharing the same designs and maintaining the down-to-earth movements, but this time, the animators added extra layers to give the entire production an intricate look. One thing that stands out is that this is a very large movie. It's not just set in Paris, but the scale reflects that as well to give the characters a big stage to work with and go around for their action to highlight the circumstances of their situations. It's also nice how it captures the general architecture of the city, where it's not just about the familiar landmarks, but also the buildings around it that have adapted to modern times, but still maintained its history.
And suddenly I feel so free, leaping through the city. I'm leaving all the pain far behind.
And while looking at the big picture and the landscapes are nice, the film also made sure that the details are strong too. When compared to the show, there is a lot more that was built upon the characters and around them, like with the textures of their hair and clothing. Not to mention that, with a city like Paris, there were opportunities for the team to build the familiar landmarks and capture the essence of what made them awe-inspiring, like Notre Dame Cathedral and its windows. But if there is one thing that I have to point out as the best element of the feature, it has to be the action scenes. It may not be much narratively as a superhero film, but when it's time to fight some bad guys, this film goes hard. These are some of the best creative moments of the picture, where they make the most out of the novelty of the villains, while also highlighting the abilities of Ladybug and Cat Noir. And even what's around them really amp up the scene, where they provide a strong use of effects that are both natural and supernatural, and taking advantage of the film's grand scale to present the danger that the heroes must face. I'll even give credit to the cinematography that really went complex with some shots in order to capture the best angles that make the moments more engaging.
Stronger together! Yeah!
The same can be said about the musical numbers, where they go more fantastical, not for the purpose of the heroes, but to focus on the characters' emotions and play a lot with the visual metaphors. If there's one good thing I could say about the movie's romance, it's that it does provide viewers with moments that are nice to look at.
I won't shy away this time, but I could see if I believe.
Visually, this is the kind of film that really wants to make their TV star's feature debut a big deal, and the team gave it their all to make the animation a splendor. The characters. I promised that I was going to talk about the characters and why I felt that the romance flopped, so here we are. It's not really the case that I hate them or that they make the feature insufferable, it's just that they're kind of bland. Again, there is this sense that the movie is dependent on viewers to already have an established familiarity of these characters and their history of the show. Otherwise, they only provide minimal substance where, without any context, they're just forgettable tropes that do the same as many other characters in different movies. I'd also like to mention that virtually all of the original actors from the series return to reprise their roles in the English dub, and I do applaud the feature for maintaining that core component for the fans. However, as a newcomer, I find the performances to be a bit much. While not overbearing, the voices sound like they're trying a little too hard in selling their performances, almost sounding childish than to help enhance the personalities. I'm sure fans are used to it and have no problem, but for me, it can be a bit jarring at times.
Hold on. Will I ever see you again?
Oh, sure! In your dreams and my nightmares.
Starting off with Marinette, she is the clumsy and shy outcast who suddenly has a hold of these magical powers that turns her into a hero. While she does gradually gain her confidence, she now has to learn how to maintain her secret identity and balancing her new life with her regular one, all while trying to focus on what is most important to her.
We must stay focused. Relax, Cheeky. We kicked every supervillain he sent our way. He's probably hiding scared.
Alongside her is Adrien, the guy who is also Cat Noir and has two types of personalities. One is an introvert with a lonely life, and the other is an annoyingly arrogant extrovert who tries too hard to throw out as many bad quips as he can.
That's music to my ears! Ha! At least the fish is fresh! The Louvre. Huh. Good point.
Also, it's worth noting that the comedy in this film is bad. As much as it may try to lighten up the mood with some humor, they all end up falling flat, and there are times when it can be embarrassing how low it can go just to have a laugh.
Adrien, is everything all right in there?
Yeah, all good, Natalie.
And this is why I don't find myself getting invested in the romance. The personalities of the two leads don't give much of a reason to be emotionally invested in them. One is the boringly common rising new hero, and the other is a bad comedian with an overinflated ego. I know there's a lot of love for these two, but I did not get that from this movie alone, which is a big problem because it is essential to be invested in these two to get into the picture as a whole. Without that, then there is not much that the movie can offer to make it worthwhile.
Nice of you to show up.
Your boyfriend too busy to lend a hand?
We're not doing this now.
On the other side, there is the antagonist of the picture, Hawkmoth. Amongst everyone in the movie, he is the one where I saw the most potential. Yes, he is expectedly the big bad guy who leads a ragtag group of colorful villains where he wants to obtain more power by taking Ladybug and Cat Noir's Miraculous. But he also has a tragic backstory where he is motivated by wanting to revive his late wife, no matter what it takes. Add in the fact that he is Adrien's father, and that opens the opportunity to create some interesting character dynamics.
Noir!
Now let's see if cats always land on their feet.
Unfortunately, the only time that it takes advantage of that is right at the very end, leaving him to be a Mr. Freeze clone throughout most of the picture.
Emily, my love, if I cannot bring you back to us, then I should be the one to join you.
As for the rest of the cast, they're just one-note characters meant to fill a small part in the leads' lives. There's Wang Fu, the guardian of the Miraculous, the friends Alia and Nino, Marinette's rich school enemy, Chloe, and Tiki and Plague, the little spirits of the Miraculous that guide Marinette and Adrian to become heroes.
Two halves are stronger together, or something like that.
Besides, once you save the world, you'll never have to see him again.
While there may be one or maybe a few that had a chance to spice up the picture, they never took the opportunity to do so, and while I'm sure there's a lot more to these characters, you won't get much from this movie alone. The songs. I don't know if this is a thing in the show, but for the movie, they decided to liven it up by being a musical. This may sound like an intriguing tactic to help strengthen the characters and the romance, except it doesn't. I know this is not the case, but the musical numbers sound like they were added much later in production, and the team had to resort to crafting songs that would fit in the scenes they already established. Yes, I did praise the animation during those moments, but when you take that away, there's not much that the songs can offer other than generic pop tunes. Again, I won't say that they reach cringe levels, but they either sound like the scenes try too hard to make a musical number out of the moment, or forgettable pop songs that are safe to play on the radio. Not to mention how there is a clear difference between the actors' voices and the singers, which can get odd when their pitches go all over the place. I'm just saying, it's kind of obvious that it's not Christina V that's singing.
No. Dad, this is not the day. I'm going there alone. You don't want them to make fun of me, do you?
What I could be if I believed in me.
As for the songs themselves, they fit in a few selected categories. There are the aspiring songs that the protagonists hope for something great, like If I Believe, You Are Ladybug, and Courage in Me.
The things I'd say if I believed in me.
Our ladybug.
I'm honestly not.
You don't know till you've tried.
You honestly got the wrong
And
girl.
when things get tough,
I have the courage in me, so I can believe this is what I'm destined for.
There are the melancholy songs during the characters' sad times, like Alone Again and Reaching Out. Although Alone Again only exists in the soundtrack, so it's only Marinette who gets the sad song in the movie.
Reaching out to find the person I can be.
And there are the romance songs that are about the love between the two, like My Lady and Stronger Together.
Maybe I finally found my incentive tonight in Paris, my lady. Show the world, then nothing will come between us.
The only exception is the villain song Chaos Will Reign Today. And, yeah, it's a villain song. There's honestly not much else to say.
So what? Chaos will reign today.
On a side note, I will say that while the songs are dull, the score by the movie's director, co-writer, and co-producer, Jeremy Zag, does feel extravagant. Like the animation, it feels like the music was elevated to make the movie a bigger deal for the franchise and can help enhance some scenes feel stronger in the process. While I enjoyed the music, the songs feel like a checklist of what is required to be in a musical. And while it's hard for me to say that they are terrible, it will be harder for me to remember them afterwards. As a newcomer to Miraculous, I don't think the movie convinced me to get into the franchise. When you take the iconography out of the equation, Miraculous, Ladybug and Cat Noir the movie is just another boring superhero family film, only with more songs and romance that don't do much to enhance the experience. I will give it that there are some great attributes about it, like the stunning animation, the awesome action scenes, and the strong score, but the rest, like the writing, leaves a lot to be desired, such as a dull story, uninteresting characters, acting that tries too hard, and a forgettable list of musical numbers. There's nothing in the film I'd say that's downright bad other than the comedy, but it doesn't deliver much to make the movie worthwhile. While there is a far better chance that the fans of the show will enjoy this more than I did, and will be more invested in seeing the love and the references, but if you're like me who watched little to nothing from the series, then this is not really worth your time, and this will not convince you to become a Miraculous fan. But what can be worthwhile is if you like this review and subscribe to my channel, where we can find other animated films that we can become fans of. I don't think Ladybug and Cat Noir did well in their movie, but then again, what the fridge do I know about Miraculous?
It wasn't real. It's just a dream.